Okay, hi everyone. I'm joined today by Simon Glendenning. Simon Glendenning is the founder of Welcome Fit and recently Raised Hand. These are both platforms. Welcome, Simon, and thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Javid. Thanks for having me.
Good, good. Simon, I'm going to jump straight into it. I know you've got a wealth of experience, both when it comes to working in a corporate environment and obviously, and most recently, setting up startups and obviously exiting from startups. So I wanted to draw your experience on that, Simon, today. And the first question is, how did you go about setting up a startup? I know it's quite, it can be quite a challenging thing to jump into a startup. So what were some of the considerations when you went about setting up a startup?
That's a good question. For both Raised Hand and also for Welcome Fit, I was actually solving my own problem. So with Welcome Fit, I had been traveling a lot as an executive. I had an international role and I was trying to stay fit. I was actually training for the Boston Marathon and it was really challenging just to maintain not only this level of fitness, but actually to get sort of real-time advice because, after long-haul flights and so forth, you'd be a bit stiff and sore, and trying to actually connect with a professional was really difficult. And once I kind of left that world and had a little bit of time to think, I thought, that's something I might look into. And so I looked around and could see that there wasn't really anything that gave real-time connection between fitness professionals and clients. There was a couple that existed, but I sort of looked at them and thought I could do better than that. And then we really went to the market to start trying to validate my idea and see if it was something people would actually use. And then for Raise Hand, it's the more recent venture, and not really a venture, it's more of a cause-based thing. That's been set up to connect recently redundant professionals with businesses that need immediate help sort of right now through the COVID pandemic. And that's been great. The professionals are offering pro bono support because there isn't any work out there for people at a certain level that are outside of a few core industries. And so this is a way that people can be found. Businesses that need help and don't have a budget can find them. And so from that perspective, I had been starting to look for what's my next gig after selling Welcome Fit. I was close on a couple, and the market just completely froze up. And so I'm like, well, let's try and find a free. Like, I'm happy to work for free for people, and I thought I'd put myself out there. But rather than do that, I'll create something that lots of people can put themselves out there and be found, and let's actually try and help solve lots of problems on the back of this. And it's now cranking along, and we've connected a whole bunch of businesses. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, so that's great. Sounds like the two platforms that have been, successful in solving at least some clear problems for customers out there. So if we dive in a little bit, so if we take, for example, Welcome Fit, what were the first steps? Let's say when you're going out. So obviously you come up with an idea, you went out to the market to test that. Once you've got an idea, how do you go about setting that up? Is it do you source funding, or are there challenges around funding, or are there various options? Are these bootstrapped? So did you find funding a challenging piece?
I decided to bootstrap. So I was fortunate enough to have the ability to be able to bootstrap. It was a technical startup, and I'm a non-technical founder, and so I had to go and pay to get the platform built. I decided for a number of reasons to bootstrap it, but look, there's plenty of options out there, and certainly it's a high risk game. Whichever way you go, if you're leaving a professional role, or you're looking to make a startup perhaps your next venture because you're out of work at the moment and thinking about it, it's a risky move no matter which way you look. And so if you can find people that will back you, that's fantastic. Oftentimes it's your family and friends will be the first ones to help give you enough to get your minimum viable product to market. And that's a term that's thrown around a lot in startup world and more sort of tech focused. But really, no matter what your product is, you just create the most simple, basic version of it that you should be embarrassed about, after launch. But you'll then see if people actually use it, and then you can actually then start to refine, because there were mistakes that I definitely made through the development process of. One of the challenges in trying to solve your own problem is that you believe that you've got the solution already in mind. And so, reflecting back, there's definitely ways I could have better qualified up front and made some different decisions. There's certainly some bias in some of the way I'd asked questions, and it was more validating my own assumption as opposed to really trying to get to the absolute truth. And, in some cases that costs, a few months of creating something, seeing that it was either used a different way or not used at all, and having to then go back and iterate and fix it. So in terms of getting started, definitely look to the cheapest, fastest, and lowest risk way to test your idea.
Yep.
There are lots of people out there that can help. There's most governments around the world now have some sort of startup incubator as well, that you can use. And they're surrounded then by smart, passionate people that can also help better validate your idea and flesh it out. And from there, if you start to get some traction, there's certainly VCs and so forth out there that are certainly willing to fund startups and really then help get you going. But once you've been funded by a VC, then you really got to be set to get on that hyper growth kind of train. Whereas if you're looking to set something up that's just a nice lifestyle business that you just want to grow incrementally and create a wage out of it, then try and perhaps fund it yourself. I went for hypergrowth, but I felt that I had the funding up front to be able to do it myself and have complete control. Yeah. And that was why I made that choice.
No, great. And did you find did you struggle a little bit with finding the right partners to help you build the platform, or because there's a wealth of partners out there, and how do you go about saying, okay, this is the right one, this is probably the one that is the right fit for what you're trying to do, and I take it that on one end there is the chemistry of working with a partner, and then the other hand is and they removing the emotions. Are they actually the right fit? Can they help me deliver the intended product?
Yeah, definitely. I ended up starting with people that had been personally referred to me by people that I know and trust. They were a little bit more expensive, but because of that sort of connection I had and that trust up front, they helped get the minimum viable product built. Once that was out to market, I actually then went and hired my own developers. So we sort of built our own team. That was a good process, and fortunate enough to get a couple of really highly skilled people in pretty quickly. And then when we actually landed some pretty interesting accounts and partnerships, including the likes of Athletics Australia, for instance, it became the official coaching platform for Athletics Australia. And on the back of that, they had some bespoke requirements that they wanted. And so because previously I'd had India as part of my remit, I thought, okay, well, I believe I can have a team set up in India. I know what to expect culturally and in terms of managing a remote team to an outcome. But I also had a co-founder at the time who had family in India, and she was born and raised there, and she actually went over there full time to nurture this remote team that we put together, and it was just a disaster. So that cost a lot of money and a lot of time as well, and in the end everything had to be redone by the local team. So yes, to start, I went with people I trust, and in the end built my own team, and they were the two groups that really got things going.
Yeah, no, it's great. I think whenever I kind of interact with people who've done a startup, there's also an element of trial and error, right? And I think you need to be a little bit flexible as you're going along the journey, and just to arrive at that end point. Sometimes you need that flexibility, and recently I was speaking to Jim Nadakal, and he's in the middle of doing this right now, and I think one of the interesting points that he mentioned is you have to be really honest with yourself and honest with the problem you're trying to solve, right? And that should be your guiding point. What pain point are you trying to solve for customers, and let that be your guiding point. And sometimes we do get quite emotional about a product we're building, right? And we lose sight of that sometimes. But it sounds like you did pretty well there, Simon. Hey, so moving onto the flip side, the other side of a startup, like with most startups, it's either you kind of start with it, and then you run with it, you try and scale it, and then you're in it for a longer period. But then there are obviously side balls that come your way, and you have to go and kind of exit from it, and either it's selling it or finding partners and investors. What's your take on how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it comes down to the situation, and I think for people involved in startups as well, it also comes down to energy and passion. There's no two ways about it. Having any sort of success and traction in the startup is going to require a lot of effort, and I think people can sometimes be a little bit surprised by just how much it actually takes. And from my perspective, it was after almost 2.5 years with Welcome Fit, and really working very, very hard to get that traction and that growth, and we put some great partners in and so forth. But it was really clear that in trying to change people's behaviour towards exercise, there was still that missing link, and that was around sort of a tie to a community. And that's why platforms like Peloton, for instance, have been very successful. That they've created that community around a core product. So people have already made a bit of an upfront investment. There's something physical attached to it, but then there's also that community to help drive that accountability. Whereas what we created was so easily accessible and light to touch, it actually gave people too many options to kind of opt out. And so we ended up not only competing against other fitness products, but we were competing against the most binge-worthy Netflix shows, right? You name it. That's what we're competing against, because we were remote exercise in real time. So it became evident to me that for the business to get to the next level, we had to go and find a partner, ideally with a product that was looking to build a community. And so it was actually through one of the brand ambassadors that we had, because part of our growth plan was to grow through ambassadors and help take it out through social media. They actually introduced us to a brand that had approached them. They'd looked at their product and seen that they were lacking a platform, and immediately saw the opportunity, and they put us together. And then the things started to roll pretty quickly. It was quite evident that we had exactly what they were looking to try and build. Thankfully, I patented it, which meant they then had to look to buy it. And so and it made sense to me at that point that this is the best next step for the company. There's always that personal element that something you've built is now going to move into someone else's control, but it was the right thing to do for the company. And then COVID hit, and I kicked myself because somehow I didn't predict a pandemic, and online fitness absolutely went berserk. But the platform performed very, very well, and it was over 300x growth sort of through the last few months. It's just been crazy. So yeah, that's our exit story. And really, it was just looking for what's the next best move for the business.
So I think touching a little bit on the COVID-19 with a slightly side topic. I know on one hand, yes, there is always that that afterthought around, okay, did I sell the business at the right time? But when I'm looking around, there are a number of businesses now that are struggling, right? Startups and also businesses who are fairly mature, right, and are struggling with liquidity, and obviously you're going to have some distressed assets coming out of COVID-19. With that in mind, do you kind of have a view on, is it the right time for companies to go out and buy these? Because obviously they will be struggling, and then is there what are your thoughts on, you know, a bit of M&A activity there, particularly coming out of this COVID-19?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's quite a bit. Yeah, in our formal world, in the payments world, we're already seeing Western Union looking to acquire MoneyGram.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, cash-rich companies that have been able to maybe not necessarily thrive in this environment, but survive it and have enough cash there to start to buy some of these companies that are a bit more distressed but have a lot of underlying value.
Yeah,
it's a fantastic opportunity. But then likewise for individuals as well, you know, looking to sort of take that next step back into an environment. This is a chance now to either reskill and to do some online courses or something like that, and really figure out what it is you want to do. Because obviously being able to work now is a huge cause of anxiety for many people, but it could actually be a huge opportunity to end up doing what you truly love. And we've seen some of that through what people are doing through Raised Hand. They're getting the opportunity to work with companies that aren't necessarily in what they've traditionally done. And it's just helping to expand their skills. Their skills are helping to expand the view of that business, and you know, together they're sort of working through it and lining up in something permanent. So it's going to be an interesting time for businesses and for the professionals involved in them.
Yeah. No, absolutely, and I fully agree that, you know, whilst we're in the midst of this crisis, there's definitely opportunity, and it's always another opportunity to have a mirror in front of you, right, and say, okay, well, this is another time, another opportunity for you to look at yourself in the mirror and say, what are you really good at? What do you actually want to do, right? And break away from a bit of that routine. So there is opportunity, absolutely. Simon, one final question from me. What are the kind of interesting things that you are seeing in your industry sector, particularly when it comes to technology or some interesting partnerships that you can think of? So what are the trends that's kind of, you know, exciting you today?
I guess, what industry do I belong to now? That's I guess one of the key questions.
Whichever one you choose. So.
Look, I'm still really interested in fintech and payments, and it's really interesting to see what's happening around open banking, for instance, where you know, a lot of traditional incumbent players that are now really looking to the smart up and comers or people that have got interesting technology to partner with them, as opposed to try and, you know, copy them or ignore them, because the pace of change now in anything tech is so fast, and adoption rate's going to be so fast as well that, you know, markets are moving very, very quickly. And so, you know, seeing just the broad suite of different products and services that are coming out of the fintech space is just enormous. And now you're seeing global banks partnering with these, you know, small companies with, you know, fewer than 10 employees, but they've got something that's so specific and unique that you know, can really supercharge, you know, part of that bank's business.
Fantastic, good. So Simon, thank you very much for your time today, and look forward to having you on the next show.
Thanks, Javid. Thanks for having me, and good luck with the rest of them.
Thanks again. Take care, Simon.
Bye.
Bye.